So you've done a lot of talking about it, and you've said yes to feeling it. I'll walk you through some things as much as you can. Let it in and let it through you. It is mostly just fear. The whole thing. Approaching it, seeing it, experiencing it, hearing it, feeling it. It is mostly just fear. And fear is very powerful. Fear is very useful to us as human beings, as creatures on the planet. Fear is a very harsh teacher. But what fear is the same as anything else. It's an experience. It's an emotion comprised of sensations and judgments, thoughts. But how we engage with that, how we relate to it, that we have control over, that we have power over. And so finding a way to be with the fear and listen to it, but not let it take over. When somebody goes skydiving, cliff jumping, any of these stunts, any of these fear-induced activities, fear-inducing activities, the fear is there. Even for things as simple as getting on stage, giving a speech or a performance, the fear is there. The difference with these people is how they relate to it. So many of these adrenaline junkies and all these things have dedicated a lot of time and energy to facing fear. We talk about that a lot. Facing fear. What does that even mean? What does it look like? How do you do that? Well, the first step, as usual, is breathe. So take some time now to breathe. And the trick is your exhale. Psychologically, neurologically, systematically, the exhale tells your entire system and your brain to relax. Exhale equals safety. And the goal is not to get rid of the fear. The goal is to get it to a manageable size and place that you can be with it. So take a few rounds now, breathing in, exhaling out of the mouth, in through the nose, out of the mouth. Make your exhale twice as long as your inhale. And as you move progressively through those rounds, see if you can make your inhale longer than the last exhale, next exhale longer than the last inhale. See if you can double it. 1 second to 2 seconds, 2 seconds to four, 4 to 8. And for right now, just keep that really simple. Just focus in on the counting. See if you can make it even longer. I'm going to stop talking for a minute. Just let you count and breathe. As simple as possible. Just keep going with that. By doing this, you are regulating your system. You can think of it as breath is power. So you are increasing your power to regulate, increasing the power to match fear, to be with it, have a degree of control over it, to work with it instead of it overtaking. Now that you're at this stage, keep them nice and long, inhales and exhales. Switch your focus to the space in between the inhale and the exhale. Just keep the inhales long. And then at the top, just pause and no movement there. Just be in that stillness and see how long you can hang out there. And then exhale at the bottom, pause, and just be in that stillness in between. Inhaling, feel your body expanding, holding in the stillness. When you're exhaling, feel your body deflating, hanging out with the stillness. Now take a moment here to really absorb what this feels like, what this stillness feels like, what this regulation feels like, what this calmness feels like. Tap into those aspects of it. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What are the emotions or the judgments? What are all those things or the absence of those things? and map that into your system. And this is your well of resource. This is strength. This is your power. The more you get to know this, the more accessible it is, the bigger it gets, the easier it is to access, the longer you can stick with it. And if you feel like you need some more time to really absorb this, we can pause. Otherwise, we'll move ahead. So now that you have this in your system, invite the fear. And don't let it flood in. Notice every subtle little change as it comes in. Slow it down as much as possible. Notice every shift that happens inside of you. Notice what comes first and what follows. Is it sensations? Is it sounds? Is it judgments, emotions, images, whatever they are? Slow it down and just pay attention to the shift. Holding on to that stillness and carrying it through this experience, such that you are inviting the fear, but you're moving into it with the calm and the power, holding both at the same time. You may get to a point where it feels like a struggle. When you get to that point, notice that struggle. And then back out of the fear. De-emphasize it, let it deactivate, and just move back into the breathing. Starting with the counting, increasing your exhale, moving into the space in between your inhales and exhales. When you feel settled in that, then you can move into the fear again. And you're okay, you're safe here. It isn't real. It's information. This is largely a game of speed. So slow it down as much as you can. Really notice the gaps in between the information that's coming in. Gaps in the spaces in between the information, between the sensations and the images and all those things are as present as the information itself. And when you can realize this, when you can be with this, use the control, use the stillness, the same as working with your breath. Instead of focusing on the inhale and exhale, focusing on the space in between. And allow it to derealize. See if you can get to the place where you notice that it's just information, pulling it apart, seeing it for what it is. They are abstract representations of something. They are not real. They are just as real as the absence of them and the spaces in between them. Okay, good. Now allow yourself to drift away from that. Let all that turn down and just come back to the stillness, not moving into the fear at all, just shifting away from it. Just coming back to your breath, extended exhale, counting, feeling your body expand and contract, space in between. And if you're having trouble with that, if you're finding that difficult, start to use your senses. This is literally come to your senses. What do you hear in the space that you're in right now? What do you feel underneath you? What does the space around you feel like? What can you smell? Is there a taste in your mouth? If there isn't a taste, what is the texture of your mouth like? You might find that you need to drink some water. You usually do. You walk around dehydrated most of the time. Water is good. Finally, look around you and orient yourself to this space, not just looking, but seeing and hearing and smelling, and tasting the space that you're in right now. And allow your experience of this space right now to sink in. Be here now, nowhere else. And continue to orient, continue to let it in. and sync that up with your breath. Notice the space in between your breath being in the space of your train as well. Allow all that come together and be here. And now one of the most important parts, give yourself a pat on the back because that was very difficult. And you did it and you got through it. Acknowledge that you did it. This is what it is. Chop wood, carry water, one chunk at a time.